with strength and in accordance with our values. That's what I intend to do. I intend to be a leader of our country that people can count on, both here at home and around the world, to make decisions that will further peace and prosperity, but also stand up to bullies, whether they're abroad or at home. We cannot let those who would try to destabilize the world, to interfere with American interests and security, to be given any opportunities at all.
That's the one thing I'd like to say. Very quickly. I will go very quickly, but I will.
So in terms of the Iran deal, this is certainly a good thing to ensure that there will not be a nuclear weapon in the future for Iran. But let's remember, while that Iran deal looked at a future possibility, Iran does not currently have a nuclear weapons program, and according to U.S. security agencies, was not engaged in creating a nuclear weapon program. On the other hand, there are nuclear weapons right now in the hands, for example, of Israel and of Pakistan, which certainly has its issues of instability. So there is good reason for us to have actually broadened that nuclear agreement with Iran, to have created a nuclear-free Middle East as a first step towards achieving a nuclear-free world, and for the U.S. to be leading the way. Rather than beating the war drum and looking for opportunities to beef up our weapons budget, which, as I mentioned, the military now takes half of our discretionary budget. It now takes half of your income tax dollars, 44% to be specific, into this bloated and dangerous military where we have troops in approximately 800 or 1,000 bases in over something like 100 countries around the world. This is bankrupting us. It is not making the world a safer place. It is creating a lot of trigger situations in which we get involved in conflicts, and we create conflicts and exacerbate them. So we need a way forward in which we are not trying to create opportunities for a bigger military budget, in which the weapons industry is basically looking for excuses to provide itself with more funded projects. It's very important. I'm the only candidate in this race that is not taking money from the weapons industry, nor taking money from the fossil fuel industry, which is the purpose of many of these conflicts overseas, in order to defend the sources of our fossil fuels and their routes of transportation. So I think it's very important that the American people have a truly honest broker in the White House who's standing up for what everyday people need, not policies that are getting us into very serious trouble around the world, not making us safer, making us bankrupt, and just creating a very explosive and dangerous future for us all.
One thing, Lester, is, he tried to switch from looks to stamina. But this is a man who has called women pigs, slobs, and dogs, and someone who has said pregnancy is an inconvenience to employers, who has said women don't deserve equal pay unless they do as good a job as men. And one of the worst things he said was about a woman in a beauty contest. He loves beauty contests, supporting them and hanging around them. And he called this woman Miss Piggy. Then he called her Miss Housekeeping.
So, again, a lot of name calling, a lot of, just throwing each other into the mud here, the mud wrestling. The American people deserve better. We deserve a president who is not funded by the weapons industry, the fossil fuel giants, the war profiteers, but who is accountable to you, the American people, and is delivering the future that actually is within our reach when we stand up and demand it. There are 42 million young people who are locked into predatory student loan debt. That alone right there is enough votes to actually win this election. I'm the only candidate who will cancel student debt like we did for Wall Street and bailing out Wall Street. It's time to bail out the students. And with the power of that bailout, we actually have the ability to bring out enough people who could actually take over this election and win it for the future that we deserve, to end student debt, make public higher education free, and create a Green New Deal that will provide an emergency jobs program as well as tackling the crisis of climate change. Thank you.
One of you will not win this election. So my final question to you tonight, are you willing to accept the outcome as the will of the voters? Secretary Clinton?
Well, I support our democracy. And sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. But I certainly will support the outcome of this election. And I know Donald's trying very hard to plant doubts about it, but I hope the people out there understand this election's really up to you. It's not about us so much as it is about you and your families and the kind of country and future you want. So I sure hope you will get out and vote as though your future depended on it, because I think it does.
Mr. Trump, very quickly, the same question. Will you accept the outcome as the will of the voters?
I want to make America great again. We are a nation that is seriously troubled. We're losing our jobs. People are pouring into our country. The other day, we were deporting 800 people, and perhaps they passed the wrong button, they pressed the wrong button, or perhaps, worse than that, it was corruption. But these people that we were going to deport for good reason ended up becoming citizens. And it was 800, and now it turns out it might be 1,800, and they don't even know.
Will you accept
Look, here's the story. I want to make America great again. I'm going to be able to do it. I don't believe Hillary will. The answer is, if she wins, I will absolutely support her.
All right. Well, that is going to do it for us. That concludes our debate for this evening. A spirited one. We covered a lot of ground, not everything, as I suspected we wouldn't.
Great. So I just want to thank all of you for tuning in to the real debate. Americans not only have a right to vote, we have a right to know who we can vote for and what we are voting about in this election, particularly in this election where the establishment candidates have effectively been rejected by the majority of voters who say these are the most disliked and untrusted candidates for president in our history. And in fact, even the majority of their own voters aren't supporting them, but are just really against the other candidate. At the same time, we have a huge majority of the voters that are saying they want to know who the other candidates are. I encourage you to go to my website, jill2016.com, and join our campaign for open debates. Just today, I heard the new polling result that something like 54% of millennials are considering voting for a third-party candidate and denying their vote to the establishment candidates that are being essentially shoved down our throats. So it's time for us to stand up. In this election, we're not just deciding what kind of a world we will be, but whether we will have a world or not going forward, considering that we have a climate crisis which is barreling down on us, which is only accelerating under Democrats as under Republicans, considering that we have wars that are expanding. They are not contracting, and there is no end in sight, and they are bankrupting us. We have an entire generation of young people who are locked in debt, and we have African Americans whose lives are on the firing line now with this crisis of racial justice and police violence. So we have very serious crises, some of which it's now or never. This is the Hail Mary moment. We need to stand up and take back our future, knowing that we actually have the votes, just from the young people who are in debt alone. We actually have the votes that we could turn this around in real time. So I urge you to reject the propaganda. Don't drink the Kool-Aid. Reject the lesser evil and fight for the greater good like our lives depend on it, because in fact they do. We do have the power to create an America and a world that works for all of us. The power to create that world is not just in our hopes, it's not just in our dreams, it's right here and now, it's in our hands. Together we are unstoppable. Thank you for making it so.